Imagine this. You spend a weekend planting, watering, tending, and the next spring half of it is dead and you're back at the nursery spending money you didn't plan to spend. That cycle never seems to end. But here's the thing most gardeners learn too late. There's a whole category of plants that completely break that pattern. These aren't just plants that come back every year. These are plants that spread, quietly, aggressively, and beautifully. Plant them once and they reward you not just with survival, but with expansion. They fill gaps, crowd out weeds, and turn a bare patch of dirt into a lush, full garden without you lifting a single shovel. Today you're getting 11 of the most effective fast-spreading perennials that most gardeners walk right past at the garden center. And you're going to find out exactly where to put them, how they spread, and which ones to watch so they don't take over more than you want. Stay until the end because number 8 is one almost nobody talks about, and it might be the most useful plant on this entire list. Number 1. Obedient plant. Don't let the name fool you. There is nothing obedient about this plant. Physostegia gets called obedient because its individual flowers can be moved and stay in position, like an obedient little soldier. But the plant itself, completely rebellious. It spreads by underground rhizomes and will march steadily outward every single season. In a few years, one small clump becomes a dense, waist-high colony of soft pink or white flower spikes that butterflies and hummingbirds can't resist. This one thrives in average to moist soil and full sun to partial shade. It blooms in late summer when most other perennials are winding down, which makes it incredibly valuable for keeping color in your garden from July all the way into October. Plant it where you want something to fill space, along a fence line, beside a pond, or at the back of a border, and then step back and let it do what it does. Number 2. Plume poppy. This is the plant people stop and stare at and then ask you what it is, because it looks like nothing else in a typical garden. Plume poppy grows 6 to 8 feet tall with enormous scalloped blue-green leaves and feathery plumes of tiny cream-colored flowers at the top. It is dramatic, architectural, and completely unlike what most people imagine when they hear the word perennial. And it spreads, enthusiastically, through underground runners that push out in every direction. So within 2 or 3 seasons, it becomes a genuine privacy screen or statement backdrop that you didn't have to build. Use it at the back of a border or along a property edge where height is an asset. Just know that if you don't want it somewhere, you need to dig the runners before they establish. But where you do want it, it delivers a presence that no annual ever could. Number 3. Chameleon plant. Most ground covers are pretty boring to look at up close. This one is not. The chameleon plant produces heart-shaped leaves splashed with red, yellow, cream, and green all on the same leaf all at the same time. It spreads aggressively by underground stolons into a thick, weed-suppressing mat that's as colorful as any flowering plant. The color is most vivid in full sun, though it handles shade better than most variegated plants. There's an important note here. This one spreads fast. Use it in contained areas, between pavers, in a raised bed, or enclosed by hardscaping, and it's a showstopper. Let it loose in open garden beds without a plan, and you'll be pulling it out of places you didn't intend. Respect it, place it deliberately, and it will fill every inch of the space you assign it. Number 4. Sweet woodruff. If you have a shady corner where nothing seems to grow well, sweet woodruff is your answer. It forms a low, star-shaped ground cover that spreads gently through rhizomes into a carpet of fine, textured green topped with tiny white flowers in spring. But here's what makes it stand out. The leaves contain coumarin, and when they dry, or when you brush against them, they smell like fresh hay and vanilla. It was historically used to scent linens and flavor wine. Your garden path will literally smell good. Sweet woodruff thrives under trees, along shaded walkways, and in spots where lawn won't grow. It's relatively polite in how it spreads, not aggressive enough to become a problem, but consistent enough that it fills in reliably year after year.
It's one of the few ground covers that genuinely earns the label low maintenance. Number 5. Yellow archangel. This plant looks like someone took a regular ground cover and gave it a silver paint job and then forgot to stop. Yellow archangel produces leaves heavily splashed with metallic silver markings over deep green, and it spreads by long surface runners that root wherever they touch soil. In a single season, it can extend several feet outward from the original plant. Under a mature tree where nothing else survives, it becomes a living silver carpet. In shade gardens, it brightens dark corners more effectively than almost any flowering plant. A word of caution: in some regions, this is considered invasive, so check your local lists before planting, but in managed spaces, few ground covers match it for visual impact. Number 6. Ostrich fern. Most people think of ferns as slow and delicate. Ostrich fern is neither. It produces stunning vase-shaped fronds that can reach 4 to 5 feet tall, arching outward like the plumes of its namesake bird. And it spreads through underground runners to form wide, lush colonies that look like something from a botanical garden. In moist, shaded areas, near streams, pond edges, or the north side of a building, it naturalizes beautifully and crowds out weeds entirely. Here's the bonus you may not know. Ostrich fern produces fiddleheads in early spring that are edible. You can harvest them, sauté them in butter, and eat your garden. Not many spreading perennials can claim that. Plant it where you have moisture and shade, and it will repay you for decades.
Number 7. Creeping Jenny. Creeping Jenny in its golden form is like spilled sunlight across the ground. The chartreuse yellow, coin-shaped leaves cascade over edges, root as they travel, and form a dense, almost luminous mat that works in sun or shade. It's exceptional as a ground cover, a container spiller, or a pond edge plant, and it's particularly dramatic tumbling over retaining walls or raised beds. Where the light hits those golden leaves in the morning, it genuinely glows. It spreads fairly quickly through rooting stems, but because it stays low, rarely more than a few inches tall, it's easy to manage. Pull a stem up if it wanders too far and tuck it somewhere new, and you've just propagated another free plant. This is one of the most versatile spreaders on this list in terms of placement flexibility. Number 8. Bloody cranesbill, Geranium sanguineum. This is the one almost nobody talks about when the conversation turns to spreading perennials, and that's a mistake. Forget everything you know about common annual geraniums. Bloody cranesbill is a true hardy geranium that spreads into a neat, mounding ground cover smothered in magenta pink flowers for weeks in early summer. Then, and here's what makes it extraordinary, the leaves turn brilliant red and orange in autumn before going dormant. You get 2 major seasons of visual interest from one tough, self-sufficient plant. It thrives in lean, well-drained soil and handles drought well once established. It spreads both by self-seeding and by a slowly expanding root mass. No rhizome highways, no aggressive runners, just a steady, well-behaved expansion that fills space without taking over. If you're looking for one low-maintenance spreader that does everything right, this is the one. Number 9. Bugleweed, Ajuga reptans. Bugleweed may be the single most underestimated ground cover in the plant world. It forms rosettes of glossy, often deep purple or bronze foliage that sends out surface stolons, visible runners that root at each node, and builds a dense mat fast enough that you can watch it expand across a season. In spring, it throws up short spikes of vivid blue-purple flowers that carpet the ground in color. Then the foliage takes over for the rest of the year, suppressing weeds better than landscape fabric and requiring zero intervention. It handles shade, poor soil, and dry conditions with remarkable ease. Under trees, along borders, beside stepping stones, Ajuga fills all of it without complaint. There are dozens of cultivars available with different leaf colors and patterns, so you can mix and match for a ground layer that looks genuinely designed. Number 10. Wild stonecrop, Sedum ternatum. Every list of spreading perennials focuses on moisture-loving, shade-tolerant plants, but what about the dry, sunny spots that nothing seems to want? Wild stonecrop is a native succulent-like perennial that spreads through a combination of self-seeding and creeping stems into rocky, dry, well-drained areas where other plants give up.
Its fleshy, round leaves form low rosettes that root wherever they contact soil, and in spring it produces delicate white star-shaped flowers across the entire mat. It's genuinely beautiful in a quiet, understated way. This one is exceptional between stepping stones, on dry slopes, in gravel gardens, or tucked into rock walls. It handles foot traffic better than most perennials, and deer rarely touch it. If you've got a problem spot that's too dry and too hot for anything else, wild stonecrop is the answer you've been looking for. Number 11. Solomon's Seal, Polygonatum odoratum. For elegance in a spreading perennial, nothing on this list touches Solomon's Seal. It produces long, arching stems lined with alternate, oval leaves and tiny white bell-shaped flowers that hang like lanterns in spring. Then in fall, those same stems turn buttery yellow before the plant retreats underground. It spreads steadily through thick rhizomes into broad, weed-suppressing colonies that look effortlessly refined, the kind of planting that makes people assume you hired a landscape designer. This one is built for deep shade under mature trees, along shaded walkways, and in woodland garden settings. It's slow to spread compared to some others on this list, but what it lacks in speed, it makes up for in permanence. Once Solomon's Seal is established in the right spot, it simply grows more beautiful every year without you doing anything. That's the definition of a plant worth having. There it is, 11 perennials that work for you long after you've walked away from the garden. The key with all of them is placement. Give each plant a space that matches how it spreads and what it needs, and you're not going to fight it, you're going to benefit from it. If you're starting from scratch, pick 2 or 3 from this list based on your light and soil conditions and get them in the ground this season. By next year, you'll have coverage that would have taken you a dozen annuals and twice the budget to replicate. If this helped you, hit the like button. It genuinely makes a difference for this channel. And if you want more content about building a garden that works harder than you do, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop in the comments which one you're planting first.